so this is the RY, what was it, 14122, 150 bucks, rated 1700 PSI, 1.2 GPM. The motor looks rather similar, just not on a handheld. M22 inlet, or M22 outlet, normal garden hose inlet, no leaking. I didn't have to do anything crazy. There's no tape or anything on this. Again, that's what I like about these machines over some of the others. All right, so let's put our 15 nozzle on, see what we get. We still have to deal with the same clunkiness of this goofy hose. So it's very clear that swapping the hose, I think, is even more important than the darn gun. But these Ryobis thus far are certainly viable. I mean, it sounds like it's gonna break every time you turn it on, but the specs, the output is not bad. All right, we're 1575. 14.4 amps, 1575. So these three all have the same gun. We don't get to a different gun until we get up to the next level. 3, 2, 1, go. Shoot, if I stand on the hose, the thing trips up a little bit. Okay. Again, our bucket weighs 2.8 pounds. Oh, a little more flow. 12.6. 9.8 divided by 8.34. 1.8 or 1.18. Is that more or less?
1.13 and 1.15.
Okay, so 1.18. So a little bit more flow on that particular machine. So very similar. I bet you if you ran these tests over, again, they'd all probably come out to, so they're rated at 1.2, so they're just rounding up, So they're, the spec is actually pretty spot on. Let's do our SPL reading. 67. Actually, I might as well just do this all in the same test because we're not getting any difference. So the nozzle setup really doesn't matter between the hose and this. So we're getting the same reading, so I can skip all of those steps. Let's just go right to the new hose, the new gun, and then we'll size the nozzle accordingly on that aftermarket setup. But all the quick disconnects are the same. 1000 PSI again. Thousand PSI, 3.0 nozzle. Now I need a foam cannon test. We got
12.4.
Okay, so we're still good. 1.1 millimeter orifice it is. All right, so here's one of the risks to these inexpensive pressure washers. 3 out of the 51 that I bought, actually I think I only have 49 of them now because 2 of them just didn't show up. They showed up used. This one was really used. So what's the model number on this one? This is the RY141900, 2000 PSI, 1.2 GPM like the rest of them. But this one showed up with, has probably 200 hours on it, so who knows what we're gonna get out of this. I don't even know if it's gonna work. Let's make sure. Yeah, it does work. So I bought this new, Home Depot, and it showed up in a brown box with a sticker on it, and it's used. And I had a Sunjo and an AR, same thing. They were open box, used machines. I mean, they had little nicks and scratches or missing parts or pieces. I mean, you can even see from the darn nozzle that it's all beat up. So this is part of the deal with these. Now, the other thing I noticed on a lot of these, they have a hose reel on this machine. But the hose reel is useless because you can't have the hose plugged in and unwind. Right, so there's no, on a lot of these, there's no connection, like there's no whip hose or loop hose that connects the hose reel. So I've got this connected, I can't unravel it because I've got the other end plugged into the machine. So what I've got to do is I've got to get the entire hose off the reel first, somehow, and then I guess just use the hose reel for storage, which is really stupid. So you don't want that. So likely we'll see what the specs are on this machine, but I'm thinking you're not going to want this version with the goofy hose reel because you can't use it for anything but storage. You know, like the Krenzla or some of the Sunjos, they have a connection that connects to the hose reel or the inlet to the hose reel. And then that connects to the outlet of the pressure washer, and then the hose connects somewhere inside of it, but not this one. So that's something to make note of. A couple of things to make note of. One, you could end up buying these cheap things with a used machine and have to deal with trying to send it back, and it's all dirty. So anyway, now this machine comes with a stainless wand like the other. Let's turn our water on. We got 1875. Okay, let's get our SPL reading while we're at it. 71.5. 3, 2, 1, go. I feel like this one's, maybe this one's broken in. I think it's working harder. Same thing. 12.1.
The last one.
You did? Yeah, so same, yep. Okay, let's put our new nozzle on it, see how it works. 2.5 gives me 1100 PSI. And what's our amperage?
10.4.
Okay, so we're safe there. So we need a 2.5 on this one. 1.1. What am I doing? Doing what every Instagram idiot does. Look at my foamer, bro. And put it on the end of a 6-foot wand. Oh, don't do that. This is what I thought. Those are the Instagram gods coming at me. Look at that foam, yo. It's like shaving cream. What do we got?
11.0.
Safe. All right, so this is the first departation from the normal technology we've been doing, the brushed motors. This is a brushless motor. Brushless is overly marketed, I think, in this game. It really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. It just means that the electrical contacts that they technically won't wear on this type of machine. But I'm interested to see how this one performs differently. This one is rated at much higher pressure at 2300 PSI. So let's see what we can get out of this. Turn it on. Sounds a lot different than the others. Also comes with a, looks to be stainless wand versus the others being all plastic. A little bit different gun. Let's run all the water out. Quite a bit louder. We'll get a different rating here in a minute. Also has a bigger hose. I don't know if this one turns off. Doesn't appear that this one has auto off. How much current are we pulling?
13.9.
13.9 amps. 2,100 PSI, and it appears this doesn't have total stop, so it doesn't turn off. So let's do our GPM test. It's interesting how they make these. They try to make these look like they're gas. See, there's a weird looking spark plug, fake spark plug looking thing. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. That's really loud. That's like as loud as a gas pressure washer. We're about to get a decibel reading in a minute here. "30 seconds. Let's let it run here and see if it turns off. That doesn't look like a whole lot of water. Oh, it's rated the same, isn't it? 1.2 GPM?
Yeah.
Less water. 12.1. So 9.2 divided by 8.34 is 1.103. Yeah, so that brushless still running, so it doesn't have total stop. Let's go get our SPL reading on that thing because it's really loud. 74. Swap our hose. So I'm already writing this one off. I mean, it's like 2.5 times louder than the other options. Had less flow, more pressure. No, we don't need pressure, so let's see what this does with nozzles. See what we need to make this work. About 790 PSI with the 3.0 nozzle. So we're gonna need to tighten this up. We'll see what the current draw is, how much current it pulls. That gives us 1125. That's what we want. Yeah, a 2.5 nozzle on this. What's the current draw with this?
8.6.
So draws a lot less current. But it drew a bit more with the with their nozzle on it, didn't it?
Yeah, 13.9.
So 8.6. So that's really safe to run. You could run a 2.0, but I wouldn't want any more pressure than that. So we're certainly not overworking the machine. But man, is that thing loud. What, 3 decibels means that it's twice as loud. I think that's how audio works. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure somebody will. All right, let's try our foam cannon.
Which orifice was that?
2.5. So clearly we're gonna need the 1.1. Does the job, but not very well. How much current?
8.9.
Okay, so it's a little more efficient, but it doesn't stop running. So that one's no good. Don't buy this one. I mean, buy this one, but don't buy if you don't buy it from me. Yeah, that's super annoying. All right, Ryobi RY141612, also known as, I mean, most of them go by just the PSI. So the 1600 PSI, 1.2 GPM. We got solid specs. This little sucker actually put out more pressure. Now they're cheating a little bit because they're using a nozzle, you know, an orifice nozzle that's 15 degrees and really, really tiny. This is probably a 2.0, maybe even some variant between a 1.5 and a 2.0 size nozzle. This sucker pulled 15 amps, you know, with the standard setup. We were able to measure just shy of 1.2 gallons per minute. So the specs, you're not really lying. I mean, you're getting what this one is publishing. Now the hose is not very good. It's only 25 feet, which will be problematic. I think the idea behind most of these is, well, one, to save costs, they do a shorter hose, but they do a really long power cord that's probably unnecessary. So I guess the plan is that you would put this right near your car, but you'd have to move this around a lot. So you definitely want to upgrade the hose. So this little sucker for, you know, $100 or less is not too shabby. Issues I ran into is that you'll notice with all nozzles, they have a really short, I guess, neck that allows it to fit the depth of the stock gun. So we can definitely adapt quick disconnects for the outlet, the inlet to the hose, the outlet to the hose, also the inlet to the pressure washer, inlet to the gun. So we can adapt this so that it quick disconnects rather easily and simply. But what you'll find is pretty much any 1/4-inch plug that you get for your foam cannon is really not going to fit in here. Unless you had some machining capability and you machined it or machined down your 1/4-inch quick disconnect. So what I would do with this, and the same goes with all the Ryobis, we're going to put a 50-foot hose to the 50-foot Cobra Jet hose, upgrade your gun, wand, and then on this machine we're going to do a 3.0 nozzle in order to get an appropriate amount of pressure. A lot of that I'm doing by feel, and so we want an appropriate amount of pressure. The flow doesn't change with the nozzle size, so we really kind of have to deal with the fact that this is going to provide a little less cleaning power than something with a lot higher flow. But for $100, not too bad. In the Ryobi lineup, this one I would certainly, I don't know that I'd recommend it, but it's certainly not horrible. All right, so the 1800 PSI model, I'll spare you the RY numbers. You can look those up if you want. But the 1800 PSI model did a little over 1800 PSI, again, a little less than 1.2 gallons per minute at 1.1 something. This one, I think, could end up being problematic at times with the stock gun. It pulled around 16 amps. Now I have a dedicated 20 amps, so it didn't kick the breaker. But I think on certain days and certain homes, if you have a lot of load on the circuit, you can end up kicking your breaker with this particular machine. So we did measure a little bit more pressure, virtually the same output as the 1600 PSI model. Same story. You're going to want quick disconnects for, you know, if you're going to use the stock hose, for the inlets and outlets of the gun and the pressure washer, same thing. You're going to want a garden hose quick disconnect. You're going to want some sort of inlet hose or to use your garden hose. So I'll provide solutions for that. But again, same story on the gun. You're going to have a hard time adapting a foam cannon. So I think you're going to want new hose, new gun. You could do Mosmatic, you could do MTM. I'm going to provide, you know, those solutions for you so you'll know exactly what you need, and I'll sell it with the specific connections of what you'll need for each one of these. So not bad. Between the two, I'd probably choose the 1600. It's a little cheaper. This one does look a little more stout, but again, we don't need the pressure. The flow is virtually the same. So between these two, they have the same gun, the same hose. I'd probably pick the 1600, knowing that I'm going to be able to get it on any circuit and not have to worry about it. So that's what I would do there. Okay, 1700 model. This one gave us a little bit more flow. Again, this could be in my measurement, 1.18 versus 1.10 and 1.14 on some of the other machines. So probably just in measuring error. So right around 2 gallons per minute. We got about 1550 PSI out of this machine. We pulled, this one pulled, what was the amperage on this one?
14.4.
This one pulled 14.4 amps with the stock setup. On all of these, we ended up pulling less amperage when we adjusted the nozzles. We found that this one was a 3.0.
Yes.
So we ended up with a 3.0 nozzle on this in order to get an appropriate amount of pressure and output from this particular machine. I like this one for the cart model. This is probably the same pump as the others. I mean, it looks very similar. It's just on a cart. So I would probably choose this over one of the little ones just because of that. But the output is the same. I mean, the operation is the same. It's about the same as far as how loud it is. Again, I'll publish all these specs for you. But it definitely, just like the others, needs a new hose, needs a new gun, needs a new wand. This one's same story. Can't adapt the foam cannon. It really doesn't fit. And so you're going to have a hard time with this. But we need all the quick disconnects just like normal. This versus the others, again, I'd probably choose this just because of the cart, for what was this, 150 bucks, not a terrible option, and wasn't particularly loud. Okay, so this is the 2000 PSI model. What did we measure? 1875, so within reason with the stock 15 degree. This one gave us the second lowest amount of flow. 1.15, 1.14, something like that. 1.12. So a fraction, a few hundredths less, so similar amount of pressure. This one's kind of dumb, and then it has a hose reel that is only really designed to store the hose. You can't actually wind up the hose when it's connected. It also comes with a thicker hose. It looks like a 3/8 inch hose instead of a 1/4 inch hose. This is the one that I got that was used out of the box. So out of this, it was a little louder. I'd probably choose the 1700. Again, these are all flowing the same. So again, I'd go back to the 1700 that doesn't have the hose reel, because again, I don't think you want this. You're going to end up taking this off anyway. It adds some weight and some bulk, and the cart's a little bit bigger. So I wouldn't recommend this one over the 1700, especially since it cost extra a couple of bucks to get some extra pressure that you really don't want. They sacrifice a tiny bit of flow for the pressure. But the same story. You're going to want a new hose, you're going to want a new gun, you're going to want a new wand. So you're going to want all that stuff. So a few $100 added on to this to make it better. And for whatever reason, actually, let's test this. I think the foam cannon might work on this one. This is something I forgot to test. Yeah, so the foam cannons will work on the ones with the stainless steel nozzles, so it fits in there without a problem. But on all of these, we want the 1.1 millimeter orifice. I tested 1.25 versus a 1.1, so we definitely want the 1.1 orifice. Again, my intent here is I'm going to have packages for all this stuff, so you won't have to think about it. I'll just send you exactly what you need. And for whatever reason, the 2000 PSI machine needed a 2.5 sized orifice instead of a 3.0 like the other three. It's probably because they have this one dialed up internally to provide a little more pressure. So they, in order to dial that back, we needed to use a smaller nozzle in order to get the same amount of output or cleaning power out of it. Okay, what the heck is this one called? This is the brushless one. Rated at 2300 PSI, 1.2 GPM. We measured 2200. We measured 2100, the least flow though, right? Roughly 1.1 GPM. And this was by far the loudest. All of the other four had auto shut off. This one continued to run. This is the heaviest machine. It's the nicest looking one. It supposedly has the best motor, but it's loudest by more than double. I mean, it's considerably louder and doesn't turn off. And provides the least amount of flow. So this one I would choose last out of all of these. And this one is about 260 bucks. But same story on this. If you did have this, you're going to get this one. You're going to want to modify the hose. You're going to want to modify the gun wand. It is nice though on these, you can adapt the foam cannon to them. So you could put a foam cannon on the end of the stock gun. Take that back. This one is different. Nope. We're going to need, for the foam cannon, so in the last part of the step, we're going to need a 1/4 inch male to M22 male adapter, which I think they may give us in the box. What is that fitting, what is the fitting size that they give us in the box that we throw away on the foam cannons? So yeah, on this brushless, if you did have this, the MTM foam cannons come with a 1/4 inch to M22 adapter. So that comes with the foam cannon. It looks funky. This is the way I used to hook up my Krenzla. And then it's not all the way at the end of the wand anyway. So that does work. So the 2000 PSI doesn't need anything, but see, I wonder though, maybe they switched. So let's plan on, actually for the 2000 PSI and the brushless 2300, let's do this same connection. All right, so I guess I'm making the determination right now, if you're gonna do Ryobi, I think you want the 1700 model. The 1700 model for the cart, 1600 model for the little carry-on. They did surprisingly well. I mean, the flow is really low. So if we were to compare it to something that's doing, 2 or 2.5 or 1.8 or 1.9 GPM, I still think after all this testing, I don't think we want to dial the pressure up to 1800 PSI. I think we want to dial the pressure back to somewhere in the neighborhood of 1000 to 1200 by using different size nozzles, and then just dealing with the fact that we're not getting as much work done because the pressure washer just it doesn't have the flow that we need to do it. Foam cannon worked great. Adams Soap PF22 foam cannon. The standard foam cannon is going to do well too. They come with a 1.1 millimeter orifice. All of these need that same orifice nozzle. We tested out the current draw, so it's all good on all of these. So successful first test. The beauty of the Ryobis versus some of the others we're going to show you is that they are really easy to connect because they use standard fittings. So you'll see in future videos that we're going to need a lot more fittings in order to connect hoses and things to the other pressure washers. It's a lot clunkier. There are new fittings coming out. There are some, on Amazon, there are some fitting connections. But again, what I intend to do is just provide you with you click the button, here's the solution. Option 1, quick disconnects for the OE setup. Option 2, new gun wand with quick disconnects. Option 3, hose with your new gun wand. And so you have the ultimate setup. All of these are going to be for sale on the Obsessed Garage Marketplace on Facebook. If you're not on Facebook, I don't know why, do it. Get on it, create a fake name or something like that. So I'm going to put it on the Obsessed Garage Marketplace. It's facebook.com/groups/OG Marketplace. Submit an application to join, and I'll be putting these up and selling them only with the provided accessories, the accessories that you're going to need to make these work. So I'm not going to be doing custom kits where you have something and you don't need it. It's going to be if you want it. All of these are going to be for sale. It'll become probably first come, first serve on the Facebook group. The first one to say, I want it. I'm not going to play games with negotiating. I'm going to put the price up there fairly, and I'm going to sell these each one by one with all of the stuff that you need. We'll box it up and ship it out to you. So that's the plan. These things hanging out in my headquarters here are driving me nuts, so they've got to go. But anyway, successful test on the Ryobi. Stay tuned for, I think we'll do Greenworks next. And then we'll deal with some of the more complicated ones, the Sunjos and the Karchers here, and the AR Blues afterward. After all of that, I'm going to chase the more sophisticated sort of mid-tier pressure washers, the Comet, Sunjo Professional, AR Professional. I'll also stay tuned. I'll be benchmarking all of this to the Krenzla stuff that I have as well. And so you'll have all of that data. and then eventually I'll make a really pretty looking spreadsheet that'll be on obsessedgarage.com that you'll be able to go look at and see what, you know, what each one of these does as a buying guide. And I'll probably come up with a recommended, out of the Ryobis, I'm recommending the 1700, and so we'll see if I prefer Greenworks over Ryobi versus Karcher. We'll figure out which of these I would call my favorite. So anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more crazy. This project is a nutty one. Thanks for watching. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.